Welcome aboard Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Nortey by nature. Rainy Sunday. Let's bless ourselves with something from Temi Daklo. Amen. I love it to bits. Temi Daklo. Amen. You self go be the boss, eh? Joy 99.7 FM with me, Nortey by nature. Yeah, we're together again for Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. 10th of October every year is World Mental Health Day. Last week we stepped into it. Prioritizing your mental health, your wellness. Indeed, mental health is the new wealth. I've got my guys, my folks from the Department of Psychiatry, University of Ghana Medical School, yes, in Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Yesterday we went for a walk. Today we are talking about substance use and addictive behaviors. What do gambling, patronage of pornography, compulsive shopping, alcohol use. Well, you'll find out what they've got in common. With me in the studio, Mr. Samuel Jando. He's a mental health practitioner and a specialist in addictive disorders. And next to him, Dr. Lorna Latte, who's a resident with the Department of Psychiatry. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And if you believe, say amen.
Amen.
Amen. You're welcome. And we're still on a roll. Charlie, yesterday's walk wasn't easy.
It wasn't at all.
Charlie, me, I play tennis, but walking is so tough for me. But it was a lot of fun. And it looks like we got a bit of a message across. We're continuing today. We started with Francis and Josephine last week. We looked at the mental health and wellness of the elderly, right? And that was interesting to know that as soon as you cross 60, you are categorized as elderly. I don't quite like that. But all right. I guess you won't have a problem. But anyway, you're welcome. Today we want to take a look at substance use and addictive behaviors. Of course, there's substance use disorders. We can look at the illness, but we want people to grasp, the impact. What is the link, the relationship between the use of substances and our mental health or well-being? Any of you can start.
Okay. You can go ahead.
Ladies first.
Okay.
Yes, ladies
Sure.
first.
So what's the link? Let's break it down for our listeners. What's the link? I mean, we all take substances for some reason or other. Some legitimate, others not so. But what's the connection between that and our mental health and wellness?
Okay. So substances that we take in, we call them psychoactive substances.
Okay.
We call them that because they directly affect our mental health and our mental well-being and
Okay.
our mental processes.
Okay.
So when you take a substance in, it affects how you relate with somebody, affects
Okay.
how you see certain things. It
Okay.
affects your mood,
Okay.
your emotions, even your awakeness levels.
Right.
And
Consciousness.
your consciousness,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
Those are the
So
things.
you use the term, and I want my listeners to grasp that and break it down. Psychoactive. Does that mean it acts on the mind, on the brain?
Yes. So that's exactly the meaning of psychoactive.
Okay.
It acts directly on the brain.
Okay. So anytime you take a substance that is psychoactive, it's playing games with your brain.
Oh yes. Yes. All the time it's playing games with your brain.
Okay.
It's why you would feel more relaxed for some people. It's why you feel more agitated. It's why you might feel sleepy. It's why you might feel more awake.
Okay.
It's acting directly on your brain.
Okay, so
Yeah.
these substances get access to the brain and brain chemistry,
Yeah.
and that can impact our behavior. Right, Sammy. So is that the basis, the main bridge for concern, that we must know what we are taking and what it's doing to our mind, our brain?
Yeah, it's very important that we know what we are taking and its effects on our cells or the brain cells.
Okay.
So deep within the brain is seated what we call the motivation center,
Okay.
which is situated in the mesolimbic system. It's a big word,
Okay.
but that is what motivates us to do a lot of things.
Right.
Now, what happens is the more you take the substances, for instance, like cocaine, marijuana, and the likes, what happens is it influences the release of some neurotransmitters, which
So
we
brain
call the
chemicals.
brain chemical
Right,
called
okay.
the dopamine.
All right.
Now, this dopamine makes you a bit hyper, makes you feel good of yourself, and also helps you to be in a certain level of your functioning.
Okay.
Now, the more you take it, now the brain now sees it as a way of life to live. So instead of maybe acting on itself, now these substances hijack your brain and start to control you.
Okay.
And that is where Lorna was saying that it influences your behavior.
Okay.
Now, if it does happen, then it tells you, okay, fine. If it is causing harm or maybe fighting somebody that you have to do,
Okay.
now it is the substance that is controlling you more
Right.
than your own self.
Okay. Great stuff. If you've just joined us, 16 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. The program, as always, is Ultimate Health, your ultimate guide to healthy living with me, Nortey by nature. I know you are addicted to the program, but that's not the problem we're talking about. We're talking about substance use and addictive behaviors, okay? Currently, my guest from the Department of Psychiatry, Sami Jando, you heard speaking. He's a practitioner, mental health practitioner, and specializes in addictive disorders, addictive behaviors with the Department of Psychiatry. Next to him is Dr. Lorna Latte. She's a psychiatry resident. Am I right? Yeah, with us in the Department of Psychiatry. I say us because I'm also there, right? We're pushing the priority of your mental health. We're insisting and asserting and emphasizing without equivocation that it is the new wealth. Your mental health is your new wealth. So we want you to understand what substances do to you first, even before we get to the point of disorder, right? The big things. They've mentioned cocaine. They've mentioned a few other things, but some of you are into energy drinks. Some of you are into caffeine. Some of you are taking over-the-counter prescriptions and abusing legally or legitimately prescribed medications.
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. The use and then the abuse and then the damage, okay? If you have any experiences, concerns, questions, testimonies, confessions, my WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, and shortly I will activate those phone lines for you to get in on the action. Okay, so we understand that. The Chinese have a saying, I've always used it for several years in teaching and advocacy, that first the bottle takes the man takes the bottle, and then the bottle takes the man.
Yes.
Right? First the man takes the bottle, and then the bottle takes the man.
Yeah.
showing that over time you lose control
Exactly.
of your use of these psychoactive substances, whether they are legally available or regulated substances. Okay, so we all have access to some substances, right? What I'd like to talk about next is, well, so we all use substances. What would indicate that I may be progressing towards maladaptive or problematic use of substances? I take coffee, I take energy drinks, I smoke, or Charlie, my club here, they don't joke. What would indicate that I have problems or I'm progressing towards maladaptive or problematic use?
Okay. So, okay, let me quickly take that one. I think with respect to that aspect, you see, before you started use of alcohol or any other substances, you were functioning your own way.
Right.
You were responsible in your home.
Okay.
You were going to work without anybody asking you to do.
Okay.
You were not hiding to do certain things.
Okay.
Now, when you start the use of substances and then it becomes a problematic, now you spend more time using that thing.
Right.
So it's more important to you than any other lifestyle.
Okay.
Now you spend a lot of money on it
Okay.
than any other thing.
Time
like
and money?
gambling,
Right.
time, money, and as we see in gambling and
Okay.
then the use of alcohol. Early in the morning, you see them running for it because if they don't, they will be having what we call withdrawals,
Okay.
which will come to that. And then you would equally neglect your person. You see a very beautiful lady whom everybody likes so much, but now her personal hygiene and others are all at stake.
Okay.
They are not. She's not able to do those things that she does to make her beautiful anymore.
Okay.
Then you know there's a problem.
So changes in behavior patterns, right?
Yeah.
Changes in consciousness, changes in the what amount of time you spend getting and using, and even recovering from the substance. You were going to ask something, Lorna.
Yeah. It's a small thing that people don't notice, but you tend to take more of the substance now because the initial effect you had is
Over time, you are taking more
Yes.
than what you were
what
initially.
you initially doing. Yes.
Right.
And it might be unconscious, but
Right.
now let's say you were drinking a cup of coffee to work in the morning. Now you need 2 cups of coffee.
All right.
You need more than 2 bottles of alcohol.
You want a
to
stronger
have-
hit.
Yeah, you want a stronger hit.
A bigger high.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's also that.
Okay.
And then yeah.
All right. So, folks, we're talking substances. We're talking addictive behaviors. Gambling is addictive. Your patronage of a porn site and so on and so forth. Some have even compulsive online shopping.
Yeah.
Sometimes they are not shopping. They are not even buying. They are viewing. Right. So we're looking at these things and their impact on your mental health and well-being. If they start to compromise your ability, your capacity to meet the daily needs and demands of a day, you need to start looking at it, right? If it's taking you more time, then it's starting to even shape your social networks,
Yes.
your friends, the places you go to, then hey, you may have a substance-related issue. That's what we're talking about with my guest, my specialist from the Department of Psychiatry, as we seek this month and beyond to prioritize your mental health and your mental wellness. Tomorrow we will have a landmark presentation on the prioritization of our mental health and wellness by Professor Angela Oforiata of the Department of Psychiatry in Kolebu. I believe it's available online as well.
Yeah.
Keep your questions and your experiences coming in. So, Sami, we use the term and we hear it often, dependence, and we hear addiction, right? Some will say the value is the same.
Sure.
Some will say all die be die. Is there a distinction between addiction and dependence?
Actually, it's a very slim distinction.
Okay.
Because some equally use interchangeably.
Right.
So the dependence is when you got into the point where you need a substance to be able to function in your normal capacity.
Okay.
So whether it's 10 bottles, you need it
All
at
right.
all costs to be able to function.
You depend on it. You
yes,
need
depend-
it.
yes,
It's become
that is it.
non-negotiable.
Yes, and
Okay.
it becomes a bit of a problematic because you begin to develop, when you start developing, let me say, health and mental complications
All right.
out of the use, then we we're also looking at the issue of addiction, to the point that nothing matters to you again, but the use of the substance is what your focus is on. That meaning you have gotten to the level that you can, it's a level of no return unless somebody helps you out. So
some tend to say that addiction has more medical or biomedical antecedents, and therefore that is where we are strongly emphasizing a disease model, that addiction is a disease, right? And there's something to be cured, whereas dependence is a broader label or category which brings in all the other things, and that is why now we can even use the same model to talk about gambling and addictive behaviors. All right, if you have any questions, share with us on Facebook and YouTube, and also by WhatsApp 055 11 11 997. This is Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. We're talking about substance use and addictive behaviors and the problems they cause when they progress to disorders. Share with us your experiences or your confessions, right? This is something from Nicholas in New Ningo. Hey, where's Kisi New Ningo? I'm also tuned in. This is from Nicholas in New Ningo. No, I think this is an old message. Am I right? Okay. I beg you, give me back my page. What are you doing? All right. Okay, Nicholas has sent something from the FDA on substances. Okay, I'll have a look at it. Right, if you have any questions, concerns, share with us. Okay, so we've done that distinction. Now, Lorna, you mentioned something earlier that another sign that you are getting or progressing towards problematic or maladaptive use is when you are increasing what you take, the dosage, the strength, and so on and so forth. Is that what they refer to as tolerance?
Yes, that's what we refer to as tolerance. So what it is, it's like Sammy discussed earlier when he was talking about the neurotransmitters or the brain chemicals that deal with addiction.
Okay.
So you have developed tolerance. So the initial effects on that particular part of the brain is no longer enough.
Okay.
Or the initial dose is no longer effective.
Why a tough?
Yes.
Why
to
a
stimulate those parts of the brain anymore. Okay. So now you need more of that substance at that area to give you the same effects.
All right.
Another thing is I think one thing I forgot to mention is you can't control your use anymore.
Okay.
So you
loss of control.
So you decide that I'm having only 2 bottles today, but by the time you realize you've gone through 6.
No.
Every time you set a limit for yourself,
right?
You can't hold back.
Okay.
That's another sign.
Great flags that are waving at you and everybody else with regard to substance use. Right? You're taking more than you used to. I used to beg for a little drop or couple of drops of club beer, and you say you're doing shandy. Now, when you are asking, you're taking much more of the person's beer, right? Your system now that used to be shaken and rocked by a little alcohol now can tolerate more. So if you notice you're taking more than when you started, then there's a progressive maladaptive process underway. Sure. Okay, we want to be able to get you aware of that before it gets to problematic degrees. That's what we're talking about today. Same with addictive behaviors. If you were patronizing, you went to a porn site accidentally, then you start going accidentally on purpose. Then you start looking for harder and harder porn. Sure. Please, Astati. Right, that's what we're talking about. Share with us 055 11 11 997. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. This is Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. Good afternoon, Nortey. I'm drinking, is drinking alcohol in moderation medically advisable? This is from Davis in Kubekro, number 2. Right, we hear this a lot that the doctors say, you need some in your system, and that the body needs a little alcohol. Now, moderation tend to be subjective, but he's asking, should you take it in moderation?
Okay, from my side, I think no doctor would say kitwa beer.
Really? We have doctors who smoke. We have doctors who drink.
And anyway, but recent research has identified that there is no safe levels of alcohol in your consumption. even though there are some researches that are punching holes.
But it's legally available.
Yes, it's legally available, but the choice is yours for
Okay.
you to make that decision.
So when we say it's available, I know I'm playing devil's
Sure.
advocate here, but when we say it's available for persons over 18, and then you say, well, there's no safe dose of
levels,
alcohol, then what are we doing to ourselves? Legal suicide, or what is it? I mean,
Yes.
let's look at that dilemma, because somebody is waiting to be 18, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, so that he can start the use of
Right.
alcohol.
So
Yeah.
you're saying better not start.
Yes, that is it, and it's because research has shown that if you are younger and you start the use of any substances, you tend to become more addicted to that substance
time, right.
over time. So if you are 14 or below 18
The
years, and
earlier you start, the worse the journey.
the worse the journey.
Right.
And then the adolescent mental health or brain are not fully developed until the mid-20s.
Right.
So if you start the use of alcohol or any substances before the mid-20s, then meaning you are causing damage to your brain cells,
Right.
and that is a problem for you.
Right. So when you start early, that's when your brain has the accelerator very sharp.
Sure.
Sure. But the brakes are not as sharp.
Yeah.
The executive control areas of your brain, that's why in adolescence you take risks. And all of these things that put a rush on your brain, and the reward centers are designed to heighten that for you. That's why you love all those video games and all those wild things, right? So if you start early, then chances are that you get into problems.
Yes.
And you have a difficulty coming off.
Yeah.
Okay, let's quickly talk about, before I read, okay, Oye in Afenya, I'm welcome to your home again. Tell it's raining, so when I come, I won't leave. Right? Thanks, Oye, and all my listeners. Right. Apart from the neurochemical games the substances play with brain chemistry, they also punish us when we listen to guys like you and want to pull away.
Sure.
Right? Can we explain withdrawal, right? Okay, I've listened to Nortey and Lorna and Sammy today, Mejai, but this thing is calling me a frefre. It's pulling me, it's compelling me to use. Can we explain the mechanisms behind that for our listeners to understand?
So with regards to withdrawal, it's a withdrawal syndrome. So we discussed dependence earlier.
Okay.
So there's what we call the physical dependence.
Okay.
And then there's also the physiological dependence. Otherwise, so the mind is dependent on the drug.
Right.
Where you have cravings when you no longer have the drug.
Okay.
And then also the body is physically dependent of
physiologically.
the drug. So in some cases you can't sleep, you can't eat, you have tremors, you are shaking, you have difficulty concentrating, you might feel like vomiting.
Right.
All these are signs and symptoms of withdrawal. The basic thing is that your body has learned to function with the substance that you are putting in. So initially you didn't
your body
need
is dependent on the presence
Yes.
and the chemical activity or effect right.
of the
Great
drug.
stuff.
So initially you didn't need, like Sammy mentioned earlier, you didn't need anything to stimulate your motivation centers.
Okay.
Things that control your joy, self-control, all that. But now you need something to stimulate those centers in order to work.
Okay.
So if it's not present, then we have all these
Then
symptoms.
there's a deficiency.
There's a deficiency.
There's a gap that your body is now struggling with.
Yes. So you generally feel unwell.
Okay. All right. So you see, I like saying it this way. I don't know whether my guests will agree with me. I like saying it's like buying a phone.
Sure.
Right? They give you some kind of ringtone, and then you customize it. Right? You change manufacturer settings. Anytime you use a substance or you start engaging in addictive behaviors, you have actually essentially fundamentally changed manufacturers' settings.
Yes, that's what you have done.
Right? Great stuff. Okay. I'm glad they agree with me. Clap for me. Right. Good afternoon, Nortey. Do these substances have any relationship to intelligence? Because I have a few cases where these people seem brilliant. We're not talking about people who are dim or whatever. Put that aside. They are adding a substance they were not taking before.
That is it. Right.
So we're not saying people who have these problems or who use these substances are deficient with regard to intelligence. I don't know, Sam.
Yeah, I think where she's coming from is the fact that, in our secondary schools, people tend to take marijuana, for instance, for them to study hard and become and pass their exams. That is the notion that if you are taking marijuana, you become smarter, you become energetic,
in the universities,
in the universities and then the secondary schools. So colleagues, and I think
so what they're saying is that if they know somebody who uses and is doing well academically, they tend to link the usage.
Link it. But the issue is with marijuana, for instance, research hasn't actually shown that it makes you more intelligent. Rather, it causes more harm to you. It rather depletes the amount of intelligence you have over time.
That's right.
Yes. So it affects your brain cells, and then now they are not able to function the way they are supposed to. So it's not even advisable.
Okay.
Why would you add something to what you have before you can function?
Right. Okay. And as chief prosecutor, I'll tell you what. Listen, what about those who are not taking and are doing well? How do you explain that?
Great.
Okay.
That's
right.
good.
Same with aphrodisiacs. A lot of people think without this, Charlie, I can't perform.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. What about those who have Sebi light off or doom so without any problem and so on and so forth? So you've got to be careful the kind of information you're taking, and we'll give you the right information. And with cannabis, there's also cannabis-induced apathy.
Yes.
Right. I don't careism. Right. With a lot of users, and there's also state-induced learning where sometimes they find a difficulty recalling what they've learned when they were high. So please, let's be mindful. We'll give you the right, top-notch information here. Good afternoon, Nortey. Okay, what's this hanging over my screen? Get away. All right, here we go. Good afternoon, Nortey. Please, how are the family there? Please ask the doctor and his friend that how many hours does the drug work in the body before when they take it you see that they behave abnormal. So but sometimes they come back to normal small. From Hayford in Bato. Okay, Hayford sounds converted, or he's giving good testimony, right? So the delay between consumption and effects, all right? We're talking across substances, so be mindful. We're not talking about a specific substance. So that's what Hayford is asking. Hang on to that. Please, good afternoon. Anytime I take a little bit of alcohol, I feel some heat in my stomach. May I know what the problem is? Thank you. The problem is that you're taking it, right? This is from Adriana, right? She gets stomach warmth. She wants to know. I'll leave that to my guest to answer. Okay, here comes somebody with my full name. It has to be Douglas from DC. Mr. Alfred Nortey Dua, thank you and the team so much for education on health. Those who keep on taking coffee as daily food, what danger are they in? With white and red wine, does it have any side effects? Of late, anytime I have a sip of white or red wine as if I have drunk too much alcohol. Why? What should I do? Oh, Douglas. Brefier. Right? So he's asking about caffeine on a regular basis, and then he's asking about white and red wine. All right? Differentiation between them. And then, of course, there was the one about the duration between usage and effects.
Okay. Let me talk about the one about duration and effects.
Okay.
So what he's talking about is most likely intoxication. So what happens is there are phases of substance use. So when you're taking the substance, the immediate thing is intoxication with that substance.
All right.
That's what some people call the immediate high, or whatever they choose it to be.
Is it immediate?
Depending on how you're taking the substance.
Okay.
So there are substances that you can smoke or inhale. There are substances that you ingest.
So the route of administration, whether you are sniffing or inhaling, whether you are ingesting orally, right? Whether
or you are injecting as well,
right? Okay.
All these affects how long you become intoxicated, how long before you become intoxicated. I mean, the almost immediate ones are either by injection or inhaling or smoking.
All right.
Those ones take less than 5 minutes.
Okay.
That's being before you feel the effects of the substance.
Okay. Yes. And be mindful there are different substances with different chemical properties.
Yes.
Okay. Essentially, the substance is getting to your brain.
Yes.
Which controls your consciousness, your behavior, and all the effects you are looking for anyway. Yes. Well, there's a critical thing here I want us to highlight, Sammy. Yeah. I tell people when you use a substance for effect, you are no longer, for example, taking a beverage, you are taking a drug. Yeah. Do you see?
Yeah,
You are
that's true.
taking it with the expectation that it will do something for you, which you like. As soon as that link, that causal link is established, you are on the way to trouble.
Sure.
Right? That you are looking for effect.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm taking this one so that I can run for this long.
Yeah.
All right, I'm taking this one so that I won't sleep and learn for my IA or my exam and so on. And that causal link is where there's a lot of trouble for a lot of users. That expectation, once fulfilled,
Yeah.
builds the dependency we are talking about.
right.
So be mindful what you're looking out for. Douglas was looking for something in red and white wine and asking questions about, whether they are different.
Okay, I think the active ingredients in red and then white wine or green or whatever, it's the alcoholic content.
Yep.
So you have to be mindful of the alcoholic content in that.
Okay.
What do you call whatever you are taking?
Okay.
So the industry players would want you to buy, so they will put a name on it. Being it red or white wines are good and other things.
Of course.
We have not gotten much studies to establish a good link between these wines and then your health,
Right.
as in mental health, that
Okay.
we are much concerned about.
Right. We're
So,
talking about alcohol.
we are talking
right.
about alcohol, so it's an alcohol. So
Okay.
we shouldn't go there.
Be careful, and again, depending on the process or the type of grapes, you may
Yeah.
get a difference in color. Difference in
Yes.
color, right? There are some who make this case that persons from the Mediterranean regions, the Italy, the Spain, they drink a lot of wine at table,
Yeah.
but they eat healthier.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and some linkages have been made. They walk more than we
well.
do, and many other things. So don't get trapped by these things. Okay, we want to learn about the substances. I get a sense some of you are looking for a stamp of endorsement, right? That says green light.
That is it.
Far away.
That is it.
Anyway.
And quickly, let me
Yeah.
add something about alcohol. What alcohol does, it depresses a lot of your systems.
It's a depressant.
It's a depressant.
Right.
So what it means, that's why you said when exercise and that, I was laughing. Yes, indeed. If you are consuming alcohol and you are not an active person, then you know that one, your metabolism is going to slow. And if it's going to slow, then you are also going to develop metabolic problems,
All right.
like diabetes, and then the heart-related issues
Okay.
will now start coming to you.
Okay.
So that is one thing that we should know, that alcohol, the euphoria in alcohol lasts for about an hour. The remaining is just for depression.
Great stuff. 39 minutes past the hour of 2 on Joy 99.7 FM. My guests in the studio, Dr. Lorna Latte and Mr. Sami Jando, both of the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Ghana Medical School, and of course, the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We are still on this quest to prioritize mental health and well-being as part of the thrust towards October 10th, World Mental Health Day. My phone lines are active 0302 216 541 if you want to ask them any direct questions. We're live on Facebook and YouTube as well, as we are every Sunday afternoon on Joy 99.7 FM. WhatsApp is 055 11 11 997. Okay, so we're learning. These are chemicals.
Sure.
And they act on the brain chemistry.
Yeah.
Right? They affect the way we think, the way we behave, our reaction time, and so on and so forth. Hence the need for public health interventions, for example,
Great.
a legal limit or
Yes.
blood alcohol limit.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? Beyond which you should not be driving or operating machinery and so on and so forth. Legal ages for possession or use and so on and so forth. So we are aware of the dangers of substances. Okay? And we'll get to look at the disorders in that regard in a second. But let's just broaden it a bit so that people understand what we mean by addictive behaviors and why we lump them together with substance related problems, okay? Or problematic substance use. How can a behavior be addictive, right? Does it drive me to compulsion and loss of control like the substances we're talking about?
Yes. Let's take the issue of gambling. Or now we have, it's popular soccer bets and what.
Okay.
Now, it's just like when you put alcohol side by side with these, you first tried it and you won. So what happens to the brain? The brain is motivated.
Okay.
A lot of dopamine is secreted and telling you that yes, you have survived this, and that is it. Now the next moment, perhaps you are introduced by somebody. The next moment you are going to consciously do it. Now, when you go through these processes of becoming an addicted to these gambling things, what happens is, now when you don't do it in a day or two, you don't feel comfortable.
You're also going to withdraw like the user of a substance.
Yes.
Okay.
And yours will be more of psychological withdrawal, where you think that you will win at all costs, and you need to do it before you can sleep. Now you start to do dubious works, assuming you have been, let me say, a deal. Like those kind of things, they've warned you. Like
you lost
a lot.
You're chasing your money.
Yes, you even go borrowing. Yes,
right.
You even go borrowing to be able to compensate that. Okay. With the intention that you win the next
Sammy,
time.
let me just ask one of you to explain. So then the mechanisms, the activation of the brain's reward systems is the same.
It's the same
in these addictive behaviors. So there's somebody who's watching porn online, and the same dopamine and the releases we're talking about is active.
Yes.
And therefore they are hooked, they are dependent, they are addicted.
Yes.
Right? Yes. There's somebody who's shopping online.
Yeah.
Right? So we need to be mindful of these addictive behaviors. They are not new things, but we now have a better understanding, and we are directly addressing them as mental health issues.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So if you see people, hooked on, I mean, you even hear Big Brother Niger is addictive.
Sure.
And there are many patients listen to me, right? Lorna, you want to confess? So we need to be able to understand the key components: loss of control, compulsive use, and negative consequences.
Yes.
Okay, great stuff. My phone line is active 0302216541. Do I have somebody on the line? Nope. Okay, let me look at my WhatsApp. That's where the addiction is. Okay, great. This one says, I had one I hadn't read. This one says, I used energy drinks once a while, once a week or more, when I need to work more, to stay up at work or to work. I noticed chewing gum also helps achieve that aim. Will you call that dependence on gum to stay awake an addiction? And then of course the energy drinks. Yes. Okay, you need to know what they are made of. Some have caffeine, some have alcohol. Right? These are addictive substances. There's a behavioral addiction when it comes to the chewing of gum, I guess.
Sure, that's behavior.
Okay, great. There was something I saw about a 53-year-old woman. I've lost it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Thanks for the education. My head aches when I take a glass of beer. Okay.
Don't try it again.
All right.
It happens in some people.
Okay.
Sure.
Right, please. Good afternoon. Anytime I take a little bit of alcohol, I feel some heat in my stomach. Did we address that?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
So
from Adriana.
Alcohol directly affects your stomach. It's one of the few substances that when you ingest, the first places of digestion is your stomach.
Okay.
So it's just I would call it a chemical reaction ongoing that you feel as the warmth.
Yes. Okay, especially if you haven't eaten as well.
Yes.
Right? Good afternoon, Nortey. I've known this man since my youthful age as a drunkard, and he had been healthy since. Huh? Okay, so you call him a drunkard and you call that healthy. Kaunda from Fadama. He's known a drunkard for a long time, but at least he feels maybe he doesn't get physically sick.
That's the point.
Yes. So I guess the question for Kaunda is, what's your definition of healthy?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Just because you see someone every day in a shirts and a trousers doesn't necessarily mean that. Health also involves social functioning, personal care, occupational as well.
But let's be mindful also that the damage is going on under the skin.
Yeah.
Right? Your liver may be compromised. Nobody will see. You may be emaciated. You neglect your diet because alcohol provides you empty nutrients. Right? Into you say a chow photo.
Sure.
We know what we're talking about here. Call me 0302216541. Ultimate Health on Joy 99.7 FM. We've got about 15 minutes to go. Oh, why have I lost this message? There was a 53-year-old.
It was about cervical spondylosis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you read it?
Yeah, I saw it.
I'm looking for it. I can't.
She
I'll try
said.
and get it. I mean, I could look for the one from a 53-year-old for me and put it up on the screen.
I think I saw.
But she said she was, as a result of that, she's developing a dependence on alcohol.
Yes. So she said she was on Lyrica 75 milligram.
Right.
I think Clonazepam.
Yeah.
For cervical spondylosis. and she was having difficulty trying to stop the
That's it.
medications.
There you go. Oops.
No.
No. I beg you, it was there. Please, right. Oh, yeah. Good afternoon, Nortey. I'm a 53-year-old woman. I had cervical spondylosis about 2 years ago. I've been on Lyrica 75 milligrams and Clonazepam. Anytime I want to stop, I experience withdrawal symptoms. What should I do? I am tired of taking the drugs. Please, I think I'm getting addicted to these drugs. Right. That's so specific to Lyrica and Clonazepam.
Yes.
Right.
So these are prescribed medications that help with her condition, and she's been on them for a long time. And the condition she has is also one that is directly connected to how the brain works.
Yeah.
So these medications are actually we might call so these medications would cause some form of dependence when she's trying to withdraw.
Okay.
Because she has a specific use for the medications, I would not directly say that she's addicted, but currently she's dependent on the medications because they do help her physical needs.
Yeah.
So what she would do, what we would advise is, I think she needs to talk to her doctors.
All right.
That's the first thing she needs to do. That she needs to talk to her doctors if she wants to stop the medications.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Great stuff. And you see, if you want to withdraw, right, or minimize your usage, that should be done under the direction and supervision of your physician. Clonazepam is a benzodiazepine, right? So again, it has addictive properties. Same with your barbiturates, your Valiums, and so on and so forth. So be mindful. There's a balance between its medicinal use and any challenges you may be having. And I would want to assume that you are taking it as prescribed and not topping up and doing things that you do. But speak to your physician about that. That's very, very important. Many of the drugs and the people abuse Valium, which is also a barbiturate, right?
No, it's a
benzodiazepine, right? That's a family, right? And so on and so forth. That's why they are prescription only. Many of them. But in our part of the world, hey, people are playing games and mucking around with all sorts of stuff. We'll be having the Joy FM mini pop quiz with Adam Naite shortly after Ultimate Health. And I have a caller on the line. Okay, 0302216541. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, Nortey.
Yes, hi. Who am I speaking to?
I have a problem.
Yes, who am I speaking to first?
I'm James.
Okay, share with us, James.
Yes. You see, my problem is very simple. You see, when you get to Sakama traffic light, you know Sakama traffic light?
Yep.
There are these fine, handsome guys. They are about 5, dressed up in a blue T-shirt,
right,
carrying people's babies with tubes on them in the name of coming to beg money that they are sick. I'm begging you. It's a bad practice that is happening in Ghana.
Okay.
I'm begging you to take that note.
Great stuff. I'll pass that on to the news team, okay? Right, so he's talking about people using children to beg in traffic, okay? I'm sure the news team will take that up. Abeku, do we have another caller? Nope, we don't. Good afternoon, Onukpa. Thanks for the great education this afternoon. As always, here for the cause and not the applause, but thank you too. This one says, no, this is for Samson. All right, quickly. Good afternoon, please. Is there any health complication, people who do not take alcohol? Right, so if you don't take alcohol, never done so before, do you suffer? Do you lose anything?
No, you don't. There's nothing you are losing if you don't take alcohol.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even our Muslim folks are surviving, and they are even more healthier.
Right. Okie dokie. So religion could be a protective factor. We'll get to talk about, I'm sure I'll bring them again, if possible, next week. Let me ask this thing. For example, cigarettes, tobacco.
Sure.
I always say tobacco is the only product that if you take according to manufacturer's instructions, you will die. Right?
Yeah.
We've gone very far. I'm a very, very, very old and active advocate when it comes to tobacco. We have health warnings. We've done all sorts of things. People ask us, now that we're doing mental health advocacy, why are these things still legally available? Why are we able to buy them? Some say they are commercial and industrial and other powerful forces apart from the health advocates. What do you guys say?
I would have to agree.
Exactly, yes.
Would have to agree because there everybody can see the ramifications of harmful alcohol use. Everyone
Okay.
can see the ramifications of. I mean, cigarettes is drawn boldly on the box.
Okay.
It's not hidden.
Yes.
So obviously, if it's still on the market globally,
Right.
not just nationally, it should make you think that there are other reasons why it is difficult for public health
Okay.
measures to work.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was equally discussing the same issue with Lorna when we were coming. And we were saying that people are advocating even the use of tobacco because they claim that cancers are even killing more people than the use of tobacco. And
They should go check their facts.
Yes, and then we were saying that, okay, fine. Did the person also do his research well to know what kind of cancers he's talking about?
Sammy,
Because
it is unambiguous, unequivocal.
that is a point.
There's
Right.
a direct link between
Yes,
tobacco
a
and
direct
most
link.
cancers.
If you know the kind of fight people like me fought
Sure.
before we even got our tobacco legislation in the Section 6 of the Public Health Bill,
Wonderful.
it has not been easy. We have very strong laws.
Wonderful, yeah.
We're joking with them,
Yes,
okay?
yeah.
And we'll be looking at some of these things as part of our mental health advocacy, right?
Sure.
Yesterday I was somewhere and it said not to be sold to persons under 18,
Yeah.
right? In other parts of the world, they actively check and enforce this,
Yeah.
all right? Here, you can have the kids being a key source of income, right, for these persons who operate bars and so on and so forth. We need to look at the public health implications of what we're talking about. I know we haven't talked about disorder. Let's quickly try and wrap up and get people to understand what are the risk factors. Who would get into problematic maladaptive substance use? Okay, and I'm promising you a program to look at the disorder itself and interventions and treatment.
Great.
But who is likely? Some people say the world is so stressful that Charlie, you have to depend on something to get by. What are the risk factors that we can look at?
Well, one of the first things we talk about in health is obviously genetics.
Okay.
So if you have a family history of someone who has an addiction or a use disorder, as we call it, there's a likelihood that if you were to try to use it, you might also develop an addiction.
Okay.
Then there are also those who
So
have
you may have a genetic predisposition.
the genetic
Right.
predisposition to getting addiction.
Either genetic or sometimes even behavioral. You've seen the person using it, so you
Yeah.
copy.
So that's also in homes where parents use.
Okay.
It's more likely that children would also use as children or as adults. Then also we have people who already have coexisting mental disorders.
Sure.
People with depression, psychosis, people with anxiety issues.
Yeah.
They tend to use substances as a form of relief.
Okay.
Yes, and
Right.
these things can lead.
There's
to
a link
addiction.
or a corration between
Yes.
mental illness
And using
disorders
subs-
and
yes.
usage of substance or problematic usage.
Even phobias. Yes.
Okay. Right.
Then we also have, as Sami said earlier, early age or teenage. If you start using addiction, then because you
Early
already
onset.
early onset,
Okay.
yes. Because you have issues with self-control, judgment, you have not fully formed all those parts of your brain. It becomes the full formation halts.
Okay.
So you are stuck where you are. If you start, so in the end, you never fully develop
Okay.
the
So
will to
during
stop.
those
Yeah.
ages where that span where you are driven by risk-taking, adventurism, experimentation, curiosity, and too known, right? That is when you are more likely to get into some of these things, and that is also
Exactly.
when what I like to qualify as negative peer pressure
Yes.
comes in, because there's
Yes.
positive peer pressure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Negative
So
peer-
yes, negative peer pressure is also
Right.
a risk factor.
Okay.
So I think social impact or causes of addiction is even much more higher. Even though research says about 75% of people who are addicted have addictive personality.
Alright.
So
Okay.
that's the gene.
Okay.
But majority of the causes of addiction is social.
Okay.
So our culture is part of it. You go to functions, they serve you alcohol, you can't resist, you have to take it, and that is a no. And then growing up, you see your colleagues testing some substances and other thing. They said, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
So curiosity, you equally try it. And then where you live, the house you live in, the
Right.
kind of practices that are ongoing there
Okay.
can equally predispose you
All
to
right.
the use of it. So
Okay.
there are a lot of issues
Okay.
that come together to make you an addict.
Great stuff. But I'm not done yet.
Sure,
We sit here in a radio station.
sure.
What is the impact of the media on vulnerability, exposure to substances and addictive behaviors. A lot of them are highly hyper promoted.
Yes.
So you see adverts that encourage you, right? Pedro B, do this, Abrewa Bebobo, this and that and that and that. What you have to say to our listeners as we promote, this prioritization of our mental wellness? You are bombarded with messages that seem to promote usage of some substance for something.
It's true. I have a problem with the number of adverts that we see on the television. And I think in as much as the media is promoting the use of substances and with the inscription, drink responsibly, our law enforcement agencies must also try and then enforce it. Those agencies that are responsible in controlling these things.
Right.
Some time ago, we were here when they said, okay, alcoholic adverts should not be done before 8 p.m. or so, a certain time.
Okay.
Now this thing became a norm. Suddenly, all these things are no more enforced. We see it even at 2 p.m. 2 a.m.
So that becomes our concern as well as mental health advocates.
It's a very
something we should be looking at.
Exactly. We need to look at it critically.
Great stuff. So you've understood, I hope, and I assume that when you take a substance, you are tinkering with manufacturer settings.
Yeah.
You are playing with the way your brain should work.
Yes.
Okay? And that typically progresses to problematic maladaptive use and disorders, serious illnesses, which we'll get to talk about. Okay. So, parting word to persons listening to us when it comes to substances, especially those who haven't started at all. What would you say?
Okay. Right. Okay.
Quickly,
quickly, I would say that all these people need help. That is why we are here to make this advocacy.
Okay.
So we are located at Kolebu Teaching Hospital, and there are lots of mental health institutions that are ready.
We also have an addictive diseases unit.
Addictive disease unit in Kolebu that are ready to help you to part ways with your this maladaptive behavior. And addiction is now a global humanitarian crisis.
Right.
Let us try and then prevent it.
Great stuff.
Whilst we protect our mental health.
Great
because
stuff.
It is the only wealth that we have.
Okay. Lorna.
Okay, what I would say is people in addiction have a problem that they need solving. It's not a moral problem.
Okay.
It's a health problem.
It's bigger than a moral.
It's bigger than a moral problem. It's no longer a willpower issue.
Right.
So please help those who need help seek the help they need. Don't give up on people just because they have addictive issues.
Okay.
And like Sammy said, we have places and facilities that can help them out.
And
but
professionals and
professionals
personnel.
as well.
Right.
But the first thing they need to be able to do is to seek help.
Right.
So
okay.
please encourage them.
Okie dokie. You just heard speaking Dr. Lorna Latte. She's with the Department of Psychiatry of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and the University of Ghana Medical School, looking trendy in her t-shirt. And Sammy Jando is a mental health practitioner and a specialist in addictive disorders. Many thanks for sharing the education with us. And next week, we'll see if we can pick up on the downstream issues, the actual disorders, and how we can help people and treat and manage these problems. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Many thanks to you for sticking and staying with us on Ultimate Health Joy 99.7 FM. Coming up next with Edem Naite. And I think we're here for them. Joy FM mini pop quiz. Stick and stay.